Now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome, everyone, to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region on this Sunday, October 5th, 2025. And in the weather-related headlines across the state of Alaska, we have another strong Bering Sea low-pressure system and front that's going to slam into the west coast as we go through Tuesday morning, afternoon, into Wednesday. And this system will have gale force winds with even storm force gusts. And that's going to create high surf, the potential for coastal flooding in some areas of the west coast, along with beach erosion. So I'll highlight those areas coming up. We have some rain and breezy conditions working their way across the northern northeastern Gulf into the Panhandle for this Sunday evening and into the day on Monday. But eventually, it looks like areas of the northeastern Gulf Coast and Panhandle by midweek we'll be enjoying some quieter weather and maybe even some sunshine and rather mild temperatures. And overall, the extended outlook, 6 to 10 day outlook for as we head toward mid-month, above normal temperatures are likely across much of the mainland, with the warmest temperatures and wettest conditions along areas of the west coast and western interior. So looking at what we have to contend with, we have coastal flood watches that extend all the way from Kuskokwim Bay to just east of Utqiagvik. Now, Utqiagvik this Sunday afternoon, windy, overcast, 30 degrees. All the way down here, Kwagillingok, overcast 45, also under this coastal flood watch. And of course, down here along the YK deltas, you're going to get in on the action first as we go through Tuesday morning and afternoon. The stronger winds will come in associated with that front, and then the surf will be building, and those winds and building surf will extend northward along the Chukchi coast up to Utqiagvik as we go into Wednesday and early Thursday. Still gusty winds in parts of the Alaska Range. Black Rapids there, we have wave clouds downwind of the mountains, 45 degrees. Winds could still gust up around 50 miles an hour there in through early this Sunday evening. And there's going to be a high wind watch issued for Wednesday in through the Alaska Range. Winds could gust as high as 70 miles an hour midweek, and that's all part of that front that I'll show you here when we get to the surface map. Sitka seeing rain and fog this Sunday afternoon, 55 degrees. That rain extends back up there through Yakutat, another area getting in on the rain today. So at least up through 4 o'clock this afternoon, there's a wind advisory in effect for the central Alaska Range around Denali into Isabel Pass. That still have some gusty winds into early this evening, but that will eventually just go away. But then we're going to have in the same area, the Fairbanks office has issued a high wind watch for the Alaska Range for this front that's going to be coming into the west coast. Eventually, it's going to get into the interior, and strong southeast to south winds ahead that could gust as high as 70 miles an hour through some of the passes and along the ridge lines of the Alaska Range as we get into midweek. Now, along the west coast, this is a pretty extensive coastal flood watch that extends from just east of Utqiagvik all the way down along the Chukchi coast, including Kotzebue Sound along the Seward Peninsula, Norton Sound, and the YK deltas, as well as St. Lawrence and Nunavik Islands. And we're going to have this front come in from the west-southwest, and as it does so starting Tuesday morning, afternoon, it's going to spread, those winds will spread northward along the front as it advances north and eastward. And looking at the satellite imagery on this Sunday afternoon, we have an area of low pressure now right about this region, west arm of the Alaska Range around Lake Iliamna. That's energies crossing eastward into south central and into the northwestern Gulf. We have a frontal system with a moisture feed coming up here into parts of the Panhandle. That's why Sitka was getting in on the rain, so was Yakutat this afternoon. But to the west, here's the hint of this next low pressure that's going to be emerging from the North Pacific into the southwestern and western Bering Sea. And this low will deepen as it comes northeastward with a strong front. We're going to see storm force winds in the western Aleutians on Monday. So late tonight into Monday morning, here's that low working its way through south central eastward with this front up along the northeastern Gulf Coast into the Panhandle. So there'll be periods of rain along with breezy conditions all along the Gulf Coast and in through the Panhandle. Back to the west, here's the initial low coming out there through the western Bering. And then as we get into Monday afternoon, You notice the low out here in the northwestern Gulf at the front pushed up into the Panhandle. Still some areas of rain, though I think the heavier rain has already fallen along the northern Gulf Coast, and moderate rain will be the rule this Sunday night into Monday morning in the Panhandle. But to the west, this low is going to deepen. It's going to come up toward and just hang outside the Gulf of Anadyr before part of it comes up into the Chukchi Sea. And this front is, notice the pressure, the pressure gradient here, the isobars packed together across the central western Aleutians. There's some windy conditions with storm force winds along with warmer temperatures that are going to surge northeastward. And on Monday night into Tuesday morning, also could see some snow try to break out in parts of maybe the 40-mile gold country, but not a long-lived event in the higher elevations because the freezing levels are still rather high. So come Tuesday afternoon, what was once this low pressure over the northern Gulf is just kind of washing out off of Prince of Wales Island, Haida Gwaii southward. Then a ridge of high pressure begins to nudge into the northeastern Gulf Coast around Yakutat, into the northern Panhandle. And you're going to see that bring some drier and warmer weather to this area come Wednesday into Thursday, all ahead of this strong frontal system and low. So the main low pressure heading up toward the Bering Strait on the Russian side, on up into the Chukchi Sea, bottoming out maybe around 965 millibars, so a fairly deep low. But notice the pressure gradient along this front that's going to push inland. That's why we have the coastal flood watch in effect all the way from Utqiagvik down along the Chukchi Sea coastline, and then along the west coast, southwest coast of the YK deltas. And there's going to be warmer air. I wouldn't be surprised to see 60-degree readings up here into the Alaska Peninsula on Tuesday afternoon. And looking to Wednesday, the low sitting up there over the Chukchi Sea, the front continuing further north and east, so it'll be windy conditions along the Brooks Range and even up along the Arctic coast. Kaktovik could have some winds gusting up near 50, 60 miles an hour by the time we get into Wednesday, Thursday. And that front will continue working its way eastward Wednesday. That's again why the areas around the Alaska Range will have that high wind watch for Wednesday, because this front will bring those strong south-southeast winds ahead of it. But again, milder temperatures being forced up in through the Panhandle. It'll be a rather mild day, Yakutat into the Panhandle on Wednesday. So looking at temperatures tonight, readings are going to be creeping upward, not as cold. We had some lows in the teens along, say, Anatuvik-Atigan Pass, Arctic Village. Not going to be that cold. In fact, temperatures will be going up over the next couple of days. In through south central, lows in the 40s, Matsu Valley, Anchorage Bowl down in the western Kenai. We have lows generally 40s to lower 50s along the Panhandle, 40s along the Alaska Peninsula into the eastern Aleutians. And temperatures Monday afternoon, generally in the 40s across the mainland, south of the Brooks Range along and south of the Yukon River. Some 50s still in south central, Matsu Valley and again Anchorage, even on over toward Glen Allen. And as we look at the Panhandle, generally high temperatures confined to the 50s with some lingering showers. But there is going to be a big push of warmer air coming up from the Aleutians and North Pacific across the Alaska Peninsula and Pribilofs as we get into Tuesday. So Tuesday morning, still could be a bit below freezing, maybe the upper Tanana Valley, Arctic Village, the eastern area of the Beaufort Sea coast around Kaktovik. But notice readings by now, Tuesday morning, those stronger winds will be arriving along the YK deltas, Nunavik Island, St. Lawrence. So you're going to get stronger winds with that front coming in, but it's mild air. So these temperatures are not going to go down. And as we go into Tuesday afternoon, we have temperatures in the 50s. I would not rule out a 60-degree reading down here along the Alaska Peninsula or toward Kodiak City if you can get a little bit of sun, because certainly a warm air mass and breezy conditions, those stronger winds, pulling temperatures into the lower 50s all up through the lower Yukon, lower middle Yukon Valley and the Kuskokwim Valley, especially on the west side of the Alaska Range. There will be some rain coming in with the wind and warmer temperatures. But again, it's along areas of the coast here, the west coast, that you're going to have to contend with higher surf building with those winds, potential for beach erosion, and some areas there could be coastal flooding. So we'll highlight that better tomorrow once we get the advisory warning configuration figured out. But here's the temperature outlook. Really not a change going right up to the middle of October. The mainland generally above normal temperatures, and where I said the western portion of the mainland and the west-southwest coast will likely has the best probability of above normal temperatures when you have these systems coming out of the North Pacific into the Bering with these fronts. They're windy, they're wet and mild, and we have warmer water temperatures south of the Aleutians, so that's helping to provide the energy and moisture for these storms. Meanwhile, across southeast Alaska, temperatures near or a little below normal there, a central southern panhandle, including areas like Petersburg and Ketchikan. And then as we look at the precipitation outlook from October 11th through the 15th, near normal precipitation in the panhandle, but again, this bullseye here as we head up there toward the middle of the month is centered on these regions, the west central, and then for this period, October 11th through the 15th, we're looking at another system coming in that could be rather wet, so that would mean the lower Yukon and Kuskokwim region could be picking up above normal precipitation centered there around Bethel for October 11th and the 15th.